In this recipe, I'm going to show you the easiest way there is to caramelize nuts. For the ingredients, we're going to need water, glucose syrup, granulated sugar, and in this case, we're going to be using hazelnuts. It can be substitute for any other nut of your choice. The first thing we're going to do is add into our pot our glucose syrup. If it feels very sticky, place it in the microwave for 8 to 10 seconds to easily remove it. What we do actually at the school a lot of times is we scale it directly into the pot. Then I'm going to add granulated sugar and water. I'm going to bring this to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, I'm going to add the nuts, in this case hazelnuts, and I'm going to let them boil inside the syrup for 2 minutes. One thing that is very interesting about this technique, well, there's actually many things. One is that you can make really big quantities and not have to worry about separating them individually like in the very old school recipes. What we're going to do is once the nuts have boiled for 2 minutes, we're going to strain them and place them into sheet pans with either parchment paper or silk pad and bake them directly into the oven. And once they're really, beautiful color, golden brown, shiny, we're going to take them outside and let them cool down completely, and then we're going to store them in airtight containers. We don't need to worry about not sticking between them, and I think it's just a very, very practical way of caramelizing nuts. We are going to use it in pretty much every recipe that calls for caramelized nuts at our school. Once my syrup comes to a boil, again, I'm going to add the nuts, let them boil really strongly for 2 minutes, and then strain. Another thing that is important to know is that this syrup is reusable. So we are going to use it, we're going to strain, reserve either in the fridge or freezer, and then use it the next time we need to caramelize some nuts. I would use it maybe up to 3 times. I can see my syrup is starting to boil. I add the nuts. And the timer will start once the syrup boils back again. Because of course, when I add the nuts, I cool down my syrup. So it takes about a minute to really start boiling again. Once I see it start boiling, I'm going to ask Kyoko to start a 2-minute timer. So our timer just went off for the 2 minutes. All I'm going to do is strain my nuts so I can reserve my syrup. And then I'm going to place my hazelnuts in a 1-layer arrangement here. Of course, if I want to be able to separate them easier, it is better if I make sure they are in a 1-layer. I'm going to take them to the oven, and we're going to bake them at about 310 for about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. I will show you how beautiful they'll look once they're done. Now that our hazelnuts have been baking for a few minutes, we're going to check them out. So I actually let them cool down a little bit and put them in this pretty transparent container so you can see them better. You can see they're shiny, they're beautiful, they're crunchy, and the actual coat of sugar is very, very fine. One of the things that I like the most is they don't stick to each other. So you can see if we were to use them, for example, to decorate some tablets, or if you want to do some mendiants. They also work very, very good if we want to use them as a center for a pan or a dragée product, or just for a snack, of course. I really hope that you enjoyed this simple recipe. This is what we are all about here at the school, giving you really precise guidance, recipes that work, that are easy to reproduce. You're going to be surprised that suddenly you can go from making a little tray and really having a hard time separating the nuts from being able to fill an entire oven with racks and racks of nuts and do them all at the same time. Let them cool down and they're going to separate pretty much on their own. So you're going to really love this recipe. I hope that you decide to join for any of our classes. We have some on demand, which are very practical for those of you that live in different countries with different time zones, where you can just register, click, and you can see the classes. Or we are inviting you to try one of our online live classes where you can connect with us on real time, ask questions, and interact. Thank you so much for being part of this, and we hope to welcome to Melissa Coppel Chocolate and Pastry School.